His death. Al-Tabari died on the evening of Saturday, February 17, 923 CE. In the Islamic calendar, that was the 26th of Shawwal in the year 310. He was about 85 or 86 years old, using the lunar calendar. In his final years, Tabari continued his scholarly work despite the ongoing tensions with the Hanbalites. Some reports say he was virtually confined to his house due to threats of violence from Hanbalite extremists. But the people who knew him best tended to downplay the difficulties he faced. There's some controversy about what happened when Tabari died. Some sources, which scholars consider questionable, claim he had to be buried, at night, in the courtyard of his own house to avoid trouble from Hanbalite rioters. The idea of a secret nighttime burial is dramatic but probably not accurate. The main sources agree that Tabari was buried on Sunday morning, the day after his death. That doesn't sound like a clandestine operation. Tabari was buried in the courtyard of his house in the Shamsiyya district of Baghdad, where he had lived for most of his 50 years in the city. Being buried at home wasn't unusual for distinguished people. The famous Quran scholar Ibn Mujahid, for example, was buried in a mausoleum within his own house. But if Tabari's burial had really been done secretly in the dark, that would have been extraordinary and would suggest something was very wrong. Whatever the circumstances of his burial, Tabari's grave became a site of pilgrimage and veneration. His reputation only grew after his death. There's a touching story from Tabari's final days. His student and biographer Ibn Kamil, who was present at the end, asked Tabari to forgive his enemies. Tabari said he would forgive them all, except for one person, a colleague named Al-Sawaf who had accused him of innovation, meaning departing from true Islamic practice. Al-Sawaf had objected to the praise Tabari lavished on Abu Hanifa, the founder of one of the major legal schools, during lectures on his historical work. For Tabari, being called an innovator was the one insult he couldn't let go. That accusation cut too deep. What about those reports of Hanbalite persecution? They're all from close to Tabari's own time, but they're confused and contradictory. Some scholars have questioned whether they're historically accurate, pointing out that they might be propaganda from Tabari's opponents. On the other hand, there's no good reason to completely dismiss them. The conflict with the Hanbalites was real, even if the details got exaggerated or distorted by both sides over time. The historian Miskawayh, writing about a century after Tabari's death, recorded that the Hanbalite crowd believed Tabari was a Shia extremist and heretic, and that this belief caused riots at the time of his death. Interestingly, Miskawayh doesn't say whether this accusation had any truth to it. He just reports it. Whatever difficulties Tabari faced in his final years, his legacy was secure. His Quran commentary, known as the Tafsir, and his massive history became foundational texts of Islamic scholarship. Later generations overwhelmingly sided with Tabari against his critics. As for the Jariri legal school that Tabari founded, it didn't survive him for long. Without a charismatic successor or strong institutional backing, it gradually faded away. By the later medieval period, the Jariri school had ceased to exist as an active school of jurisprudence, absorbed by the larger, more established schools. But Tabari's legal opinions continued to be cited and respected. His scholarly legacy transcended the school that bore his father's name. Tabari's life spanned nearly 9 decades of extraordinary intellectual achievement. From the boy who memorized the Quran at 7 and left home at 12 to seek knowledge, to the old scholar who wrote 14 pages a day and founded his own legal school, he embodied the Islamic ideal of the pursuit of knowledge as a lifelong calling. His works would be studied, copied, and commented upon for over 1,000 years after his death, right down to our own time.